What would change if we allowed our doctors to be fully human? Today, we're celebrating the recent launch of White Coat's Human Hearts True Stories of Healing, Belonging, and the Courage to Stay Human in Medicine with several more of our fabulous authors. And if you're a doctor, healthcare leader, or patient, you belong here. I'm Kim Downey, and this is Stand Up for Doctors Conversations at the Intersection of Connection, Courage, and the Future of Healthcare. Today, I would like to welcome back Dr. Charity Hicks, Olivia Morris, and Eva Minkoff. Thanks for joining us today, my friends.
Hey.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
inviting us, Kim.
You're welcome. And a very fun fact is I've met you each in person twice. And Olivia was twice in the same trip and 2 weeks apart, so that counts as twice. So that's what I'm so excited for us to have this chat today. And I always start by asking what you'd most like our audience to know about you as we begin our conversation. Charity, would you like to go first?
Yeah, just as a way of introduction, I'm a retired ophthalmologist and now I'm a career decision coach. Using a whole person lens, helping exhausted professionals decide whether they should stay or go in their careers. And as Kim knows, I do have a special affinity for introverts, so that's me.
Yes, and I love that, and I love and appreciate your work. So thank you for sharing. And Eva, what would you like us to know about you?
I'd say first and foremost for this conversation that I am the wife of a physician, a pediatric gastroenterologist who I met 6 weeks into his intern year. So been there through the journey. I'm also a chronic illness patient, I guess, of my whole life. So that gives me an interesting lens as well. And now I'm a leadership coach for healthcare executives, physician leaders, really supporting them with their identity and their purpose and clicking back into what it is that led them to this profession in the first place.
And that's great, and I admire your work. So thank you very much, and I follow your both of your newsletters. So, Olivia, my friend, what would you like us to know about you?
I am also the same as Eva. I'm a physician's wife. Very proud of it too. I've been a physician advocate for over a decade. And I was recently described as a physician fixer. So I'm the person where physicians come to and I fix things for them, whether it be getting them out there, helping them with their minds, helping them with their businesses. That's what I am.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. Well, thank you for sharing. And as we're getting into our book, White Coat's Human Hearts, we it's divided into four parts, and coincidentally, we each represent one part of the book, all four parts. So the first part is seeing the unseen, the humanity behind the white coat, and my chapter is called Doctors Are Human Too, and I'll just share a couple sentences from my chapter. These are not just stories from the hospital floor, these are stories from the heart. They serve as reminders that healing is not a one directional process. Sometimes the healer needs healing too, and compassion must flow both ways. So that's the message I chose to share from my chapter today. And part two is when the calling hurts, grief, moral injury, and the long way back. Dr. Charity Hicks has a chapter here. Would you like to share the title of your chapter and a story for us today?
Yeah, so my title was Supporting Yourself Outside of Medicine to Feel Better Inside of Medicine. And it was written more to physicians, but really can apply to anyone. And I think this is a common experience for many people of people who care a lot and they spend a lot of time caring for others and forget that they can include themselves in the circle of care. And so, really, my chapter was just encouragement for people to, in that when you're feeling stuck, is to start replacing that with curiosity and replacing it with taking action for yourself. I think of so many of us are used to taking fierce action for others, but taking fierce action for yourself. And the other thing that I spoke to in my chapter is just, that the the danger of identifying only with your career and Kim knows I always love a good nature metaphor. So
Yeah.
I always think, I think of trees, and you can't just have one root to have a stable tree. You need all these roots. And so that was part of the thing that I wanted to really bring forward is how, um, though identity of physician is very honorable, there's also many other parts of you that need to be served and recognized as well. And so that's what my chapter was about. And, I thought it was fun. The last thing I'll add here is just, we often think a lot of the stuff that's happening in healthcare feels really complex and like, how do we solve these issues? But I loved that reading through all of our chapters, there was these commonalities, like Kim, you spoke to like, oh, like reclaim, our humanity. And Eva talks about small actions creating contagion, right? And we have, we all influence each other. And Olivia talked about action and the ripple effect of that, And so I love that even in simple little chapters that we all wrote on our own, it
Mhm.
still felt very cohesive.
Mhm. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I love the point you just made about curiosity and taking action for yourself and how important it is not to identify only with your career and the common thread. So thank you for all of that. That's great.
Yeah.
And Eva wrote in part three, finding each other again, connection, belonging, and shared weight. That's the section title. Would you like to share the title of your chapter and tell us a story?
Sure. Thanks, Kim. And thanks, Charity, for weaving together our chapters. That was really lovely to hear. So, my chapter was called The Power of Moments in Medicine: How to Reconnect to Your Humanity in a Broken System. And so, really, my chapter talks about the prevalence of disconnection in particular right now in our era of AI and constant change. And really, what as Charity alluded to, I wanted to share was how this isn't just singular, but also contagious. Disconnection is contagious in how you are showing up in a room, how you are being with people, literally what you say to people, and then on the day to day with how you are with your career. I see connection as three different types: connection to self, connection to others, and connection to purpose, with the foundation being connection to self. But also, if disconnection is contagious, that connection can be contagious. And a story that is not in the book that actually happened somewhat recently, I wanted to share, is one that happened between myself and a physician. And its simplicity is actually what I think is magical. So I was going to a routine gynecological appointment, and I had a relationship with this person. I'd seen them over the years. And I waited in the exam room for 90 minutes, for an hour and a half, which was not typical, at least where I live. Thankfully that doesn't happen very often. And I was going to be late to pick up my daughter, and I was getting pissed. Like, I was not happy, and I'm someone who obviously has a lot of empathy for doctors. And so when she walked in, I was, I was ready to, I don't know what I was going to say, but I was not in a good state. And she immediately came in and not just apologized profusely. But she said, "Look, I am so sorry for keeping you waiting. I'd never want to do that. The other doctor didn't show up today, so I've been double booked, but I'm truly sorry." And that changed everything. Literally, just the way she showed up, not just in apologizing. I don't know why doctors wouldn't go in not apologizing for that, even a little bit. I know it's not their fault, but I still think it's helpful when they do that. But she was really coming from a place of, I am human and I respect you. And so my mood just was completely shifted. And I responded with, I'm so sorry to hear that. That sounds so difficult.
Mhm.
And we had one of the best appointments we've ever had in like just 12 minutes. And we got to some things I wanted to address. And like I said, I thought it was wonderful in its simplicity. She she was vulnerable and showed up as human and like, this is what I'm experiencing as a doctor. And I did, in seeing her and the overwhelm and frustration, um, that she was embodying. And then we were just able to be human with each other while going through the clinical moves. So it's connection.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for sharing that story. And it brings to mind, I usually have to wait a long time for my medical oncologist, but I know he's pulled in so many directions and there's emergencies with infusions and things like that. So once I was waiting at least an hour and a half for him, but kind of like you, I'm like, okay, I'm used to waiting, but this is, well, unlike you, maybe I'm used to waiting, but I'm like, this is a really long time. And at one point he poked his head in and he's like, I'm so sorry. But he said, if it's okay, I want to see one more person before you because their visit I know is going to be quick and I want to spend more time with you. So I'm like, after waiting all that time, but like, how could you say no, right? And then we did get to have, a really good visit. So that brought that to mind. So thank you, Eva. And Olivia, it's your turn. So
Hey,
you wrote a chapter in part four, which is reimagining medicine, action, advocacy, and everyday leadership. So feel free to respond to anything you've heard so far, and then share the title of your chapter and tell us a story.
well, first of all, I just want to say this incredible group of people because I know each of you individually. So to hear you all and know that I was in a book with all of you is incredible. So I just wanted to add that. And I think every single piece, because obviously I came at the end, right? So my journey started at the beginning with the humanity and stuff and the advocacy, and it's ended with the actions. I've been in all of your chapters in a way. I've lived them all and understood them. So I just wanted to say thank you all just in advance of everything that you're doing. So then when Kim, obviously you came to me and was like, what do you want to write about? I was kind of stuck because a part of me wanted to talk about everything that you guys are saying, the humanity, the voice, right? Everything that we work so hard doing. But then I was like, I felt recently that I lean a little bit closer to action now, just because I've done the advocacy for so long. So my chapter was from awareness to action, why physicians need more nurse empathy. And it took a long time to think about this one. And I guess I don't want to do a story as such, and I know you want a story, but I just want to say why it was so important to write about this part. Because all of you guys, you do such incredible work. I've been here for 11 years. I've heard the suicide stories and I've heard suicidal physicians, and I've been there. And I help them with their voices to get their voices out and say, speak, do it. Like, this is what's needed. And then as you'll see in the book, you're like, we did that. And I think like, you look at Lorna Breen, you look at Medicine Forward and all that, and you go, we've done that. And you can speak to any doctor and they say, look, I heard about burnout now and I know about these initiatives. They've got it, right? We're singing to the choir, like they get it. I was like, but what they need now is the solutions now and yeah, but what next? Because that's what they always say. They're like, yeah, I get it. And I know this is really bad. What next? And you go, I'm in the world of going, I want to help those that are in that, we're going to do something now. And I think that's why I felt like I needed to lean here and be like, whether it's you're actually building something or you can lend your expertise of knowing about a gap or knowing something you can do to make it better, I'd love to see more of that and help more of those people. And I felt what a good place to do that when the people that are picking up these books are either in crisis, know somebody in crisis, or supporting people in crisis. And you go, I want to leave them with hope that we're not just here to bring voices now, but there are people out there that are prepared to actually start building solutions. And we just need these people to keep talking to us all and say, well, we're going to do something with that. We're not just going to leave you with, hey, look, we're going to bring in some puppies for you to pet. We're going to bring in real things now, real solutions, and take this further. So that's kind of why I did it. And like I said, I'd love to come with a story, but I just wanted to lean on you need to read the book. And I don't want to give you a line from it. It's important that you read every section because it plays a part in actually making things better. And you can't just take a section and say, I understand it. Every single one of us, and Kim, I'm glad you did one from each section. I think you need to understand how this path goes and know that when you leave, it's do something. Don't just read the book, put it down and go, right, well, anyway, I'm glad they talked about it, but like do something, whether it's for yourself or somebody else, do something with it because that's where I sit. Take an action, could be small like Eva, it's about the small little things mounting up, but do something with that.
Mhm.
I love all of that. That's so beautifully said. So thank you. And I also like Jody Green from Clinician Burnout Foundation wrote that afterward, and she does share action steps, call to action. Whether you're a doctor, a patient, anyone, and we'll all make a difference together. But we all need to collectively raise our voices. And I feel like there's two big buckets of what I and all of you in some ways want to focus on, and that's support and innovation. And we want to focus on innovation and solutions, and how can we make things better, like literally for doctors, right? And I love the things that Olivia and Eve are doing as far as innovations. But some doctors, if they're just struggling to keep their head above water, they're not in a place to access innovation right now. And what they really need is support. And that's something that charity could really offer healthcare workers. And then Eve, I think like she's bridging, like Olivia has focused mainly on support, but now is moving forward, with innovation. And I feel like charity focuses a lot on support, and Eve is kind of straddling the two. So if we circle back to charity, listening to your friends here, what does this bring to mind that you'd like to add?
No, I just love, and I know you're thinking about takeaways or what, again, like what is that action? And what keeps coming back to me is we keep hearing over and over, change has to happen at the systemic level, right? There's so many people are fed up with feeling responsible on a personal level to fix things, and recognizing that change has to happen on a systemic level. But I also think it's important to know that we do the most good when that change honors the individual experience. And so it isn't about couching things in terms of productivity and like loss of turnover. Like it's couching it in like, here are the individuals and here are the individuals' experiences, and how do we make that better as we create the change.
Hmm. I feel like that's so important to say, and I say that a lot too. It's that yes, the system needs to change, but in the meantime, there are things individual physicians and others can do to shore themselves up. And I was wondering if there was anything like you'd like to add speaking to that.
Are you speaking to me as well?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
to
okay.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of what my chapter is. I like, I want people to feel that they get to be a whole person and that their whole person matters. And going back to the, honoring those places outside of healthcare. And, you know, a lot of times some of the, like the things that feel really hard at work don't feel as hard if you feel full over here.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there is also the element of like, okay, how do I make it the best it can be? And how have I filled all these buckets? And then going back and looking and being like, okay, am I willing to accept this? And do I want to? So there is that point where it's not, you know, a lot of physicians don't love the word resilience. And I don't think it's about resilience to take on more. It's more about like finding where your strengths are, finding where you recognize your worth, and then deciding, am I okay with this or am I not okay with it? And
Hmm.
then moving from there.
Yeah, for sure. And I just shared an episode today featuring Dr. Gregory Adaka and Dr. Zen Chan. And he shares at the end of that episode that doctors need permission and support to explore passions outside of medicine as well, speaking exactly to what you're saying. So, yeah, thank you for highlighting that. And Eva, what does all this bring to mind for you? And kind of straddling, would you say that you're kind of straddling those buckets of innovation and support?
Yes, that was a great observation. I actually really appreciate that, and I may use it. So first of all, what really comes to mind is a clear formula that I use a lot, which is insight plus action equals results or impact. So I guess that's the straddle. And yeah, when you were talking about like it being up to here, up to the chin, up to the neck, and sometimes they don't have access to innovation. That's don't have to come in there, but let's say I do come in there, and it's a little bit cliche, but they're in a place of survival, and you want to bring them to thrival. I like,
Mm,
and so really getting them to understand very clearly where they're at, because when you're up to
mhm,
chin level in, I think of it as dirt of like survival patterns and coping and this their survival element, getting clear on what that is, because it often is just so fuzzy. It's just when you're
mhm,
overwhelmed, right? You can't think straight. So that being the first step. And I mean, I talk about this in the book through the lens of connection, but what are the small things? We don't have to think about it as a huge upheaval at first. Like, let's take it baby steps, if you will. Like, how can you get one connected to yourself, then practice that with others and what human connection looks like, and then really get back to, as I said, like your purpose within it. I personally have it that your purpose is more than your clinical role, but it's actually your purpose in life. And I
mhm,
actually cannot remember if I write this in the chapter, to be honest, but I talk about it a lot. Like my husband's purpose as a pediatric gastroenterologist is to help kids have as normal a life, an unburdened a life as possible. And that's what he goes in with every day. But I've asked him, what would he do if he wasn't a pediatric gastroenterologist? And he
mhm,
said, like, well, I would still find a way to do that
mhm.
because it's my purpose, whether it be with own kids or daycare. I don't know what it would be. He doesn't know what it would be. But to really understand what is it that's intrinsically motivating you to step into a clinical visit every day, to forward your research, to deal with the paperwork and all the stuff that comes with it that you don't actually want to do, like what's behind that, getting connected to it. And then in terms of the action piece, I mean, there's all actions within that, but on a larger scale, in terms of innovation, what is your vision related to your purpose? And how do you want to put that in action? And now that we've gotten rid of survival mode, how can we get into the most powerful version of yourself? And we were talking about you mentioned resilience, Charity. So I'm aware that that is a
Mhm.
dirty word in medicine these days, and I get it because doctors think to themselves, "Oh, like you don't think I'm already resilient? Like, do you know what I've been through?"
Right.
But I like to define it actually as finding a way back to stability, to like your foundation, so that you can move forward regardless of what comes your way and get back to that baseline and connection with yourself. So maybe by Oxford Dictionary, resilience is similar, but that's how I go through it. All right.
Yes. No, thank you for all of that. And what I share as well is that resilience um, means coming through a challenging time and coming out stronger. So, in that sense, you can be more resilient. That's not it goes back to what we already said, right? The system is a lot of the problems. It's not that individuals aren't resilient, but there still are things that we've already said that they can do to shore themselves up. So if that makes the term a little more palatable sometimes, that it might help to frame it like that. And also speaking to what you said about self-awareness. So the episode that I've already recorded that will be published before this features two healthcare leaders, Adam Niemer and Sung Pak, and they both share very, very powerful stories of when they were in the depths of some things, the lack of self-awareness that they had. Adam was showing up working as a healthcare executive to Kaiser in jeans and flip-flops. He was having a lot of emotional distress, but didn't even realize messy hair, all of that. And he had no idea, but it was a healthcare leader called him into the office. And well, I'll let you hear that episode. But anyway, that was very powerful for him to describe as this healthcare leader who simultaneously had little self-awareness. And Sung shares a story when he was in the military, was about to topple over from heat exhaustion, had no idea. It was a subordinate of his that says, you got to sit down right now. They ended up dumping water out of his mask, water out of his boots, 5 people stripped off his clothes. He had no clue. So it's just when you're in the depths of things, you can be very smart people and still have that lack of self-awareness. So Olivia, I would like to circle back to you. Anything you'd like to add to the conversation, and if you would like to contribute anything about what you're doing these days and working on solutions and what's next and all that.
Well, this I want to lean on the word like well, you know what, not the word, but it's like we always put it on the physicians to be a certain way. Like we need you to be more resilient. We need you to show up more positive. And you're like, well, we're putting more on them, right? They shouldn't have to. Okay. We don't say it in any other profession. We don't say to a builder, do you know what? You need to show up and be more resilient to carry them heavy bricks. We turn around and say, get more machinery, get some funding, get machinery to do it, right? Shouldn't have to show up like it. We put an awful lot on our physicians. Show up, be smart. Don't use systems, be faster. Like, do everything with nothing. Oh, you can't do it? Well, then you're the problem. Okay. So I can understand why it's a dirty word in medicine because it's what we say to them. You're like, once again, you need to do more. You need to bring the resilience that the system's okay. But the system is built up. I'm not going to swear, but it's built up of assholes. Okay. So we call the system something as if it's like a machine. The system is built of people, mainly the wrong ones, who are just always, they leave, they retire, they go somewhere else, and they fill the same boots with the same asshole. Okay. We're not going to change it until we change who we put in these positions that change the system. But we need to realize we can't just pull it apart because it still needs to work to a certain degree. So we have to then start bringing in new people. But from day one, we need to be sitting there med school and saying, give these people more control, give them more autonomy, give them a voice, give them hope, give them options. So they don't feel like they're stuck in a box, which is exactly how they go into medicine today. Going, I'm a pediatric gastroenterologist. This is who I am. This is who I identify with. And this is it. I've been told this is who I am. And like, no, you're not. You're a husband, a father, probably an innovator. You're somebody who can console, help with devices, help with everything, and pediatric gastroenterologist. You're like, you should be, and it's not who you are. It's not your identity. You're so much more. I think if we can start putting it in their heads, look, you were the smartest kid in school because you need the best grades to be a doctor. All these others that are leaders, they probably got lower grades than you because you were the smartest kids in school. So don't let them tell you you can't lead because you were the smartest kids in school. I think if we can continue to remind them that you can do anything because you're that good, that you can sit there and help treat cancer, dude. Like that's what you can do. Don't let somebody say you can't lead a department of 10 people, right? Just that's alien. The reason they say that is because when you have control, you're going to probably take money out of their pockets and actually change healthcare. Okay. And when you change healthcare, it's not about money, it's about people. And that doesn't work in their favor. So I think that as soon as we can actually start sitting there saying to our physicians, hey, you guys aren't just sitting in a box. You can come out and be so much more, and we'll help you. Whether you go to somebody like me or Eva or Charity, and we'll coach you to use your voice and actually go further. Whether you come to us and we'll help you innovate, build what's correct and right for medicine, patients, and people. Now we're going to change healthcare. But don't be scared and don't feel like, oh, it's not for me because I'm just. Well, you're not just anything. You're Eva, you're Charity, whatever. That's who you are. And you go out and if you want to do something, you want to be more, then go do it. Take the action, take the step and find the person who will help you do it because I guarantee there's somebody out there who will do it. Could be me, could be Eva, could be you, Kim, with your books, could be anything. But go do it and don't let people stop you. But we need to start this motor running now and go, there's so much more to healthcare and medicine. And also, let's start supporting those. There are physicians out there buying hospitals, building clinics, sitting there, sticking their fingers up to pee and like, let's give them a podium and go, if they can do it, so can others, and give them some limelight and go, let's support them and prove that healthcare can be better now. And so I just wanted to kind of lean on that and be like, we're putting too much of the resilience and let's do that. And like, let's just give them some support. When they're building out a solution, let's give them funding. Let's just pick the right angle now and stop allowing them to go, I'm just. Be like, don't you tell me anything unless the next word is your name. Don't be giving me your titles no more. So I guess that's all I wanted to add to this conversation. And once again, to thank Charity and Eva, what you were saying. And I fully support every single word, like truly do. And everything that you're doing, because it's making a major difference to every one of them. Every single physician out there that is coming to you guys, I promise you, you're making a massive difference. And then for me, as a wife of a doctor, like I can't thank you enough for that because they all need you. They all do. And I say it to Kim all the time, which like, oh my God, I'm so full of everyone. Like, but you're helping everyone. And this starts making the difference. So we just need all our listeners to also say, do what you can. And if all you can do is keep your head above water, great. If you can do something else by just saying to a colleague, hey, you okay or anything, then you're doing even more. Like, great, do it. But just do as much as you can.
Amen to all of that, and kudos right back to you, Olivia.
Thank you.
And I love that analogy and about you don't ask a builder, to carry more bricks. You ask them to get help, right? Help and support. So thank you, because a Charity I thought I call her the queen of analogies, but you're also a very good with analogies too. And also, yes, that we need to get, and that's why I'm trying to spot a lot of healthcare leaders. We need to spotlight healthcare leaders who do care and who are doing it right and amplify them and their messages and what they're doing to spread that around. And also, yes, that things need to change starting in med school. That's something else that I say all the time. So, thank you for all these critical things that you shared today, and we'll go around one more time very quickly, and I'll ask you each, what is your take-home action message for our audience? Charity?
Oh, so go find one thing today that is just for you and do it.
Awesome. Eva?
Hmm. Similar to what I shared earlier, I think if you can find it, dig, do whatever it takes, whether it takes a second or it takes a week or a month, become present to what your purpose is on this earth, not just as a healthcare leader or a physician. Why are you here? What do you do? What are you motivated by every day, even if you aren't fully aware of it and putting into action? It's just what's on your mind and what you want for the world.
Yes. And Olivia?
I want to follow Eva with that actually, and just say, find the thing that you really want to do and don't be held back by anyone who says you can't. If it's in your head and it's something you want, find a way to make it happen. And don't just sit there and accept the way that things are if it doesn't fulfill you and fill your cup. Don't do that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being my guest today, my friends.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you,
Absolute
Kim.
pleasure.
You're welcome. So, if today's conversation resonated with you, you'll find more stories like this in our White Coats book series, because we also have book one, White Coats Courageous Hearts, and there's many more stories to be had in that book as well. And for those who feel called to go deeper, we'll be gathering this October at our inaugural physician retreat. Would be honored to have you join us, and Charity will be there, so you too can meet Charity in person. And links are in the show notes, including how to reach out to our guests. And if you'd like to support this work through sponsorship, I'd love to connect. So, in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients, patients need to care about doctors too. So, stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.
Thanks, Kim.